So we are almost 2 years into my money mentality makeover journey. And if you guys have been following along, I've been sharing my process, my growth, how I'm utilizing it, and what I feel like you need to know before you start the journey. But now that we're at the point that we are, and I've had this time to learn and grow and build a foundation with manifesting, I feel like MMM has become one of the tools in my toolbox versus being a vast majority of the toolbox. So I wanted to sit down and share with you today, especially as we're getting into a new round of people joining the Money Mentality Makeover community, talk you through how I'm utilizing it at this point in, where I feel like it helps me, where I feel like I'm supplementing, what I feel like is the most supportive version of learning to manifest, continuing to manifest, and just kind of how I'm making it work for me. So I'm going to dive into all of that. I will leave all of the details that you need to know about any previous videos, and as well as about how to sign up in the description box below. If you're listening to it on the podcast, I will leave it in the show notes, but let's get into today's video. There's not a right or a wrong way to go through Money Mentality Makeover when you choose to do it. You might feel drawn to a specific place. You might end up really digging into one section. I think once you kind of get the foundation down, you might find yourself focusing a little bit in later modules for a while. I find that at this point in my journey, specifically in this week, as I've really been just feeling very specifically led by the universe and then hearing other things from other places, how I'm choosing to interact with certain content. If you guys saw last week's video on energetic whiplash, it very much applies here. Is I'm having to choose to go in really intentionally. And that for me has looked like spaces where I really only need a very small piece of it. Like the overall arching whatever is not the thing that the universe is trying to tell me at the moment. There's like a small piece of that puzzle. So for me, when it comes to all of the modules, all of the content, I really am at the point where I choose to kind of operate in whatever way feels good to me at the given time, or on that week, or on that day, or in that moment. And I was very much somebody who, I like to make the plans beforehand. The anxiety and the learning to build trust with myself took time. And so I would kind of want to pick the rule or the guideline or the thing that I would do and follow and just free myself of a lot of that. In some ways that has really worked for me. I've talked about that in my 6-month contract video, and has given me kind of the freedom to take steps in places I wasn't willing to negotiate or allow myself to do without feeling like there had to be a forever deadline on it. It freed me of the block that I had there. When it comes to the modules in Money Mentality Makeover, when it comes to content on other platforms, for me, it's really all about getting the piece of information that I need that's answering the question at the given time or solves the puzzle. This week, I've really been going back through a lot of the journal prompts. So I didn't dig back much into the first 2 modules after the fact. And I think when you come into the MMM bubble a little bit later, the energy is a lot more potent, or it feels a lot more concise. There's just a different balance in her experience and how she's teaching. And so I really felt more drawn to the transcripts that sometimes I will go in and really just need a specific piece of information. And that might be that I put on a module, I feel drawn to it, and then I just slide my finger to wherever I need to listen to. So there isn't a wrong way to do it, but I think the more and more you do this, the more and more you're kind of in the process of saying, okay, I feel like there's something maybe specifically I'm not getting. Universe, give me that one thing, and you lean into that. And that is really a lot of how I'm interacting. I cleared energy the other night I wasn't anticipating needing to kind of dig into and release, because I decided to do the journal prompts from module 1 or module 2. And that's one of those things where you can completely cherry pick which part feels most aligned for you, which part feels best for you. There are workbooks for some of the modules. You can totally use Rich AF and conjunction with it. I had a couple of days about 2 weeks ago where that was really powerful for me. So there's not a wrong way to do it, but I do feel like I am really more intentional about which portion of it I need to hear versus hearing all of the things at any given time for a majority of how I'm consuming this at this point. Now, number 2 for me is using it to clear energy. And this is something I'm slowly talking about more in other content, so you guys will hear me continuing to learn when it comes to anything relating to energy. But this has been something that has just more and more become a priority and just a focus in my everyday life. And sometimes it's as simple as I was just feeling kind of meh about some stuff. It wasn't anything in particular, but I felt like I was kind of maybe holding on to some extra stuff. And for me, the thing that ended up working and really clicking and kind of getting me through it was listening to a podcast episode, listening to some of the content, because whatever was clinging onto me that was stagnant needed to be moved past. And MMM helped me do that, specifically one of the more recent podcast modules. So it's a thing that I didn't necessarily need all of the message of it. There was probably a little piece that I took in, but the energetic backing to it was something that really served me overall. So that's one of those things where I've talked about being really intentional about the content you're around and the content you're consuming and like the purpose of it being there. And in this case, it was really intentional for me. And I feel like that's just sometimes so powerful. I did a meditation last night because it's something that I've been feeling for the last couple of days, where I just thought, I feel this really weird energy when I'm swiping my card at the checkout. And I haven't felt this energy in a really long time. And I just thought, this is not the vibe. And I know better. Like mentally, I know how I want to be feeling when I'm doing this. I know what the actual energy should be here. So whatever I've got on me is not mine. It's not my energy. I will link the video for guidance on how to do this down below. But it was just such a needed thing for me, because I just kept coming back to it and thinking, this is not mine, and it's sticking. It's not mine, and it's here. And it's something that I literally know better and can think better and have felt better about. So why is this the thing that's like choosing to flow through me? So being able to clear energy in a situation where maybe you're just feels like somebody's energy is clinging on to you, whether or not it's good, bad, ugly, maybe some like bad money energy from your experience and interactions with some other people, whatever the case may be. I feel like sometimes that's just one of the most amazing benefits of this is it's so energetically packed that it's just such a like tool in the toolbox for those days. Now, number 3 is choosing to use the journal prompts as guided. And this was a thing for me that really shocked me the other night in a good way. And it's also been something I've really been doing with my journaling lately, where I just kind of sit down and I might start with a prompt or a question, and then I will just kind of go and I let it be and I let it flow and I let it kind of guide me into whatever thing, tool, space needs to come out. And as I was going through this the other night, as I was going through, journaling about money, of course, because that's kind of the bigger thing, I was going through some other stuff, and it led me into like writing a letter to a friend that I just felt like I needed to release. So choosing the journal prompts and then letting them open you up to other guidance, to other things, to whatever the conversation you may need at the time. I feel like sometimes what happens for me in the process of looking to clear something, looking to change something, looking to align with something else is we're asking the same questions and the same words so often that we need to find a different angle or see it in a different way or choose a different perspective or hear a different word from it. And so by having these different journal prompts that you're answering every day or answering consistently, it allows you to kind of come in with a fresh perspective rather than you showing up yesterday, today, the next day, and maybe you haven't had a lot of interaction with other people. You haven't had the conversation to come across with somebody to trigger another thing. Whatever the case may be, there hasn't been a lot of change in your overall experience in that time frame. So you're still coming to the space of asking the same questions, getting the same answers. You needed something to like dig into it. So I love that with the journal prompts, wherever you're feeling guided at any given point, because there are so many, there's always a place that you can really dig in and find something, and it becomes less about like trying to pick apart something where you're not going to get it because you need a full different angle. Now, I've done this a lot recently, and it is pairing it with Rich AF. I feel like my copy's up there. I've got it in all of the copies. I really like the audiobook, and there's a few chapters that have really stuck a bit more for me. 5, 6, and 7 have been a bit heavier for me, and I think that's the thing with all of this, with learning, with growing, is that at different points in time, we're getting different aspects of Amanda's knowledge from it. So you're really getting to kind of learn and grow, and they may have some overlap, but you might get a story here or a story there, or just a different piece that you need to the puzzle. So I feel like these both teach you, but they also pair really well. So if there's something that you're like, I really want to, like, I feel like I need something to like kind of make me aware of a thought that I have going on, and you're not getting it from MMM at the moment, there might be something else in her content realm that's really meant to fill in that gap for you. So be open to the process of just pulling from something else, and Rich AF is a really great option. Now, something that I feel like has really been amazing for me, especially at this point in my journey, but even in the last few weeks, is the Facebook group. And I talked about this in my original review, and I think it's one of the most powerful things, and it's something I'm sure that I will speak on at some point, maybe in a different podcast episode. But from a religious aspect, when you're coming at this for the first time, especially when you grow up in a religious family, household, situation, whatever, and you might relate to this in another capacity, it's not just that, but when you grow up in a system of beliefs and you're surrounded by other people who share the beliefs, there's like that backup community. You always have those people that are kind of understanding and bringing their knowledge to the space and doing all of these things. And when you're digging into this and maybe it's kind of challenging other things, maybe you're finding a different position for how spirituality and religion fits in your bubble, but it's the community side of things. You need to have people that you can bounce ideas off of, you get perspective. The people who are choosing to show up in this space and to do this kind of learning and to be in this group aren't intentionally investing. They have goals for themselves. At the beginning of this, I saw, a lot of girls who were in my year and some people who, and they're guys, and I'm sure they're non-binary humans, so let me not box us in. But there were people, who were having really big months or who were really on the low end. And of course, you can opt to join the next year's Facebook group. But in the past few weeks, I feel like a lot of us have kind of dug back in and have really had conversations or kind of come to the table to say, I'm at this point and I want to be at this point. A girl who was looking to make $10,000 as her consistent month and just kind of getting advice from other people. There was a woman who was having $25,000 months and was pushing for 50. And at the beginning of that journey, she was already seeing big checks in the mail. I had the experience the other day of a friend telling me the craziest story of someone that they knew receiving money. And I was just like, this is such a fabulous story. And it's something that that exists. And so I was just immediately jumped in the group the next day and I was like, hey guys, I heard this story. I know that we know that this happens, but in case you needed some good vibes today, let me tell you the story. I will tell you the story at the end of this episode. But I think that sometimes that community aspect is the most important. I know that I've definitely been one of those people who's considered hiring a coach at some point. And there's definitely space for that in the future for me, because I think the more you kind of get to that higher elevation within business, you need a space that you can just talk it out and release it and let it be whatever it needs to be. And that's not necessarily on the people in your company or your partner or your best friend. Sometimes they safe spaces need to be created for that specifically. The Facebook group has been phenomenal for that. And I honestly think that that's another one of the long-term benefits, because you're immediately being connected to all of these other humans who are going to want to do the work, who are going to show up, who are probably actively continuing to do the work and finding resources outside of just MMM. And it allows you to continue to grow together and to find support in spaces where maybe you're feeling particularly challenged. And then the last one is there's growing modules. So I know that there's a module 9 coming with this current launch. I haven't looked at all of the information for it, but that's the other true benefit of this is you're always getting whatever's current, whatever knowledge is happening for Amanda, whatever is happening in the space of learning and growing, it grows with you. And you're paying and investing in this course once, but you're getting so many tools to help you heal, to help you grow, to change your life overall. Money is one aspect of it, but you're really going to be able to tackle things in so many ways that you maybe never had the perspective on. It gives you back so much of your power in so many different ways. It has completely transformed my life. Like I said, I use it all the time, every week. I am such a massive, massive fan. So I wanted to update you guys on all of those things to let you know that enrollment is probably fully open in the next few days by the time this video goes live, if not the waitlist. I will leave links in the description box for you. And if maybe you're not ready to join, Rich AF is great. Drop Money Struggle is also great. Energy and Frequency of Money. I will leave all my other reviews in the description box below. But if you're watching this during the time, maybe when enrollment isn't open and you're wanting to jump on board, make sure to get on the wait list. I say this every time, even if you're moderately thinking about it, you get free resources, you get a discount code. And I've heard years where that discount code is a good $1,000. So you never know what that's going to be, but you will probably be kicking yourself if you don't get that discount code because you decided to not sign up for the waitlist when it costs you absolutely nothing. Now, before I let you go, because we love sharing good money vibes, high vibes, all of those things, 2 pieces. One, I will leave a link for the newsletter in the description box below where I share with you every week, all of the things that are high vibe for me, that are expanding me, that are bringing me joy, that are just great, powerful tools and resources and things that I'm adding to my toolbox that we might not be in a space to have a longer conversation about yet, or that I just feel like are little micro doses of things that you would enjoy that have been really filling my cup. So make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. I would love to have you as a part of our community. And the second thing is, let me tell you the story. So I have been in a space of really living on my edge, kind of expanding in really big ways, really uncomfortable ways. And it took me a minute to realize that I was living on my edge. That was something that one of the recent modules from MMM helped me recognize, was that was the feeling that I was identifying. And so for me, I've been doing this a while. I hear the stories, you know that they're relevant, you know that they can happen, you know that the money can come in really randomly and unexpectedly. We were shooting content last week for an upcoming blog post, and my friend was telling me about one of our mutual friends, who's her friend that I had kind of met through her, recent experience that her friend had had where she got a letter in the mail from a lawyer, had a business card, and they were asking them to contact her. And she thought it was a scam. She wasn't going to do it. It didn't seem like it was going to be legitimate anything. She was just like, it's a scam. I'm not going to do it. And of course, people around her were like, you should reach out. Like, you should contact them. Like, what do you have to lose? It takes you 5 minutes to make a phone call. There's no lost thing that's going to happen. You're not going to lose any money. You might lose like 5 minutes of time. It's not a big deal. But apparently this business card was really, really nice. Like, the stock of this business card was weighted and very, very nice, to the point where it convinced her that this had to be legitimate because this business card was so nice. So of course, 4 days later, she decides to call, and she finds out through the process of this phone call that someone in her family years ago had set up this trust. And she had expected, and part of her reasoning for not wanting to call originally was that her thought process was, none of, like, on this side of the family have money. Like, no one has money. Why am I going to make this phone call? Well, somebody set up a trust many, many years ago, and the people ahead of her that were supposed to inherit this trust had passed away. And so now this trust was showing up for her and another family member, and it's $450,000. So in a 4-day delay of a phone call, she was inheriting $225,000 simply because she decided to make the phone call, and it showed up in a random letter in the mail. So I love stories like that. I love seeing the random money come in, because it can come in, because it should come in, because it's meant to come in for us. And I feel like it's just such a great way to end today's episode. So I love you guys. It is a good day to have a good day. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, subscribe wherever you are. If you're on the YouTube channel, subscribe as well. We have airplanes going. It's always a party here. I love you, and I will see you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.